Hello, Ada. It's a pleasure to have you here today. This episode is slightly different because today I'm going to talk with a person who runs the behind the scenes of biotech hiring. That you are an executive recruiter specialized in the biotech industry. You specifically work with startups across the UK and Europe, from very early stage academic spin-offs to more established companies that, of course, are moving towards their next milestone. And these companies, of course, need to expand and reshape their teams all the time. And that's where you come into the picture. We know each other very well, of course. We used to work together for the same company, Cavenagh Health. So let me start a little bit by asking you about your background. Like, how did you start in recruitment in the first place, and how you came to then focus on biotech startups?
Well, first of all, hi, Cecilia. Thank you for having me. I'm very honored to be here in this new initiative. And yes, as you said, we know each other very well. We work together. And how I ended up in recruitment and the background really has nothing to do with life sciences, unfortunately. I just studied business, traditional business, with a few elements of technology and programming and just some innovation courses. But one of the majors at that degree was HR, human resources. So that's the one I picked, and that's how I sort of naturally fell into recruitment after I finished my degree. Now, life sciences recruitment was a bit random. I didn't know I was gonna get into that, but I'm very, very happy that I did, because it's so impactful, and the work that we do, you actually see a biotech company, a medtech company, and the people you hire, they are making such a huge impact into developing a new therapy, a new device. So it's amazing. So I'm very happy that I ended up in life sciences recruitment. I currently work for Cavenagh Health, as you know very well. And here our mission is to be the trusted partner of early stage businesses and academic spin-offs. And we are there to make sure that they have everyone in their team that they need to really achieve their milestones and ultimately impact human lives and just improve patients' outcomes. Therefore, that could be either in a board position in the C-suite or a technical opening in the R&D team. Whatever it is, we're there to make sure that they achieve their milestones and eventually they make a difference.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Do you specialize like in this position, or maybe previous companies as well, on any role specifically, any function, or you?
Great question.
Everything.
Yeah, well, in the past, in my previous position, I used to specialize in clinical research and a little bit also of clinical development and R&D. However, here at Cavenagh Health, I don't really specialize in any particular sector. I'm a little bit of a generalist here. And I think that is because of the nature of our work here. So we work with very small companies, and we essentially build their entire company from top to bottom. We build new functions from scratch. So that being said, I've worked on most functions and most seniorities at this point.
Yes. And when you work with like more junior candidates, maybe they are transitioning for the first time from academia into an industry position, or maybe they are coming from pharma. So of course, the biotech and pharma space are quite different, even if their purpose is, on a high level. From your experience, what should academic or industry scientists understand about working in a startup beyond, of course, the science itself?
Wow, the culture is entirely different, and I think that's a key thing to understand. And maybe it's something not as easy to see from the outside, when you're looking at a biotech's LinkedIn profile or website. It's just how fast-paced truly startups are, and how fast things are moving and changing all the time. How one day you can be writing an SOP or filling out a submission form for the FDA, and the next day you need to scrap that entirely and do something entirely different. And how agile one needs to be to work in a startup, how to be able to multitask and spin many plates at the same time, wear multiple hats and just juggle and shift priorities. how proactive you need to be as well. It's something that people need to understand. You cannot just be waiting around for somebody to tell you what to do. You need to be proactive. You need to be a doer. You need to be able to take initiative and drive results without needing hand-holding. You need to be able to be trusted that you're going to work independently and that somebody can lean into you, or you're going to lean into others and support others when they need you. So it's entirely different setting. At the same time, I find it very rewarding and very impactful because you really live and breathe the mission, and you feel so trusted, you feel so valuable. You're such a trusted member of the team, and each single person matters so much. It can make such a huge difference to the company's success that you don't feel, I think, this valuable and this impact in a huge corporate.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember having those kind of conversations with other candidates, etc. Like exactly coming from pharma, willing to, interested in moving to biotech, and they were just part, of course, of like a very large department. So they were doing great stuff, but they didn't feel as valued as maybe they were in academia.
Yeah.
Of course, in academia,
you feel like a number.
Project. Like you are really doing everything on your own. So I think there are similarities of like how an academic researcher go and look at their project, and how a scientist should look at their project in a biotech, like being very proactive, as you mentioned. And do you coach scientists around adjusting their expectations when moving from academia or pharma to a startup? Do you help them with
I try to be very honest.
Yeah.
I try to be very transparent on the company's culture and, maybe some hurdles that they might face, because it's also, I think that's fair for everyone. You don't want to waste anyone's time, either the candidates or the clients, if it's a person that you see that they're not going to be able to move in a fast-paced environment. You see that they're going to need a very strict, setting with very clear expectations, and they're not going to thrive in a more unorganized and fast-paced environment. You want to be very honest and transparent with them. You don't want to waste anyone's time. So yes, I do tell usually candidates exactly how it is, the good and the bad, and try to understand if they would be up for it and if they would thrive in this kind of environment.
Absolutely. And talking about culture, of course, you've been on site with a few companies on their culture days, so you know the discussions that they have with the rest of the team, etc. What does it mean, culture, for a small company? Like sometimes they are really, very small teams, so probably they didn't have enough time and people and resources to really understand what kind of culture they wanted to establish in their new companies. What does it mean for us?
Good question. I would say number one thing that probably drives culture in startups is the passion. That's what I see, at least from all the co-founders and the people really, leading the startup, is passion for what they do, passion for improving patients' lives, and just passion for helping others is a huge driver, I think, for a culture of a company, of a startup. And then you need to have a culture of just the growth mindset and being able to learn many new skills in a very quick time, very short amount of time. You need to be able to step up and maybe pick up a new technique, or you need to step up out of your comfort zone and help in a task, another person in a task that you've never done before. Also being able to take feedback and openly give feedback and take feedback, I think, is a huge one in a startup.
Talking about the actual recruitment process, like how does a typical recruitment process look like? Is there a typical recruitment process, first of all, in biotech space?
Yes. Usually we will have the first screening call, potentially even a second, depending on the role. If it's a very senior position, we might even have, follow-up calls. And only after we finish the screening, we make sure that the candidate has not only the technical skills that we need, but also the personality and the cultural fit, as we said, which is very important. It's probably more than 50% of the requirement. After that, if we judge that the candidate's a very strong fit, we will present them to the client as a short list, let's say, of usually we try to be very, very specific here with our shortlist and map out the entire market and make sure we only present the 5-6 strongest people. So we will put them in this shortlist. And after that, we will take the feedback from the client. And if it's positive, they will continue with the first interview. And later on, of course, second, third interview until an offer. But we are there to guide them throughout this entire process. We don't just, present them and then let them go. We're there to follow up before the interviews, after the interviews, manage the entire process, give them advice, help them out on how they should present themselves, help them out also on how to prepare for the interviews. We're there throughout the entire process.
Yeah, excellent. And what is exactly your role? Because you work for the company, right? For a candidate, for example, that who hasn't worked with a recruiter before, what should they understand about your role in this process?
We are there. I think the best way to put this, we're there to help them win a job. We're there to help them be successful in this process, and they need to help us to help them. Yes. Pretty much, because their success is our success, because if one of our candidates in our shortlist is successful, that makes us also look good to the client, and we are there, I think, hand in hand together in this. So I understand that people who haven't worked with recruiters before can be a little bit mindful, or maybe they've heard even bad things for recruiters sometimes, but at the end of the day, we're there to make sure that they are represented in the best possible way to the client. We are trying to showcase their strengths and their motivations and why we think they're a good fit. And ultimately, we are there to make sure that they have a successful process and eventually a good, strong offer that they would happily say yes to.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Do you ever help them to, decide what trajectory, like career trajectory they should be on? Like maybe you can discuss different type of roles that they haven't thought they imagine, let's say.
Good question. Sometimes I do when I feel like, a person is doing something that they shouldn't be doing, or not shouldn't be doing. But I spoke with a project manager the other day that had a very technical background, PhD in biomedical engineering, and she was a project manager now, but not at all in new product development or innovation or something that you would expect. She was more focusing on very, very admin, operational type work, and it's like, but that's unfortunate because you have all this strong 10 years plus of technical background. You can use that so easily in project management and focus on something else. So I gave her this kind of, opinion of mine on what, could help. And she actually really appreciated it. And she said, yeah, that's a great idea. And, maybe I can get into that. So it happens a few times that I will say something purely because I think, this person can do so much better, or can do something different. But that's also maybe not entirely fair, because people want different things, and doesn't mean it's just an opinion, right? It's a discussion.
Just an opinion, of course, but an insider opinion. So I think it's helpful.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Unless they ask me, how do you think I could get into sales, for example? I'm a scientist and I want to get into field applications, or I want to get into sales. If they ask me, I will, of course, say my opinion and help out. But sometimes I do regardless. Yeah.
Yes, I think that's the benefit of connecting and working with recruiters that are specialized in this sector, because they see all the different roles, all the different aspects that required to be successful in this sector. So of course you can learn a lot about
100%.
You can get
that you never even thought about before.
And talking about this, like how can a candidate better prepare for a conversation with the recruiter, like the first screening that you mentioned initially, but also the hiring manager, so when they actually start the proper hiring process?
I would say prepare a good intro of yourself. Nothing too long, nothing too crazy, maybe 2-3 minutes maximum, of highlighting just who you are, what you do, why it matters, and cover your background, cover your key achievements. I mean, you don't need to go through a lot of details, just key achievements and your motivations, what makes you you, what makes you interested in this opportunity, what you enjoy doing. And I would say on that intro, try to focus on the impact that your work has had and results. Actually highlight the results, not just the responsibilities, not just saying, oh, I did this, this, and this, but how was that helpful and what was the impact of that. Also use metrics where possible. For example, instead of saying I worked on a CRISPR-based gene editing in mammalian cells, you can say I optimized a CRISPR workflow that reduced edit validation time by 40%. And that helped in decision making in our preclinical pipeline or something like that. I think it's much more impactful, and a recruiter or a hiring manager will love hearing that. And yeah, definitely you want to highlight also your startup relevant qualities that you have, because recruiters again will assess the personality fit as well, not just the technical fit. So you want to mention all the times that you took ownership of a project, or all the times that you were leading a group of people, or times where you needed to adapt and things were changing very rapidly and you needed to shift priorities. So you want to demonstrate, your qualities and your mindsets that are going to be very relevant.
Absolutely. I think that's very valuable advice also on how to structure your CV, like having the initial intro and how to put, your experience. Like you want to show them what you could do in that setting within the company, in that therapeutic or product, whatever. Like not only what you achieve, but what you can do with, your skills and technical
100%.
understanding of what they are doing. Absolutely.
100%.
And what's your take on how scientists should talk about their work? Like, do you think there are storytelling techniques or, because of course, like, for example, thinking about academic researchers that have been discussing and presenting their data to very academic audiences, and they present their work in the best way for an industry audience.
Definitely you want to demonstrate your commercial and more entrepreneurial thinking. I think talk about actual real life applications. How did your research have an impact in the real world? Mention any experience that you had maybe in an industry setting, or any time that maybe you were customer facing, you were speaking to people from the industry, I collaborate with scientists from this company, for example, for this project. So any industry collaboration, customer facing, any real world application, or any maybe project management or product development, product management experience that you have had, definitely you want to highlight that. I would say project management is actually a big one, because especially PhDs and postdoc researchers often project manage, probably it's their entire work, but they don't necessarily frame it that way. Maybe they will frame it more as a research, but not as project ownership or project leadership. And they should definitely frame it this way and highlight their project milestones, because you need to do often a lot of managing deadlines, managing collaborators, managing resources and budgets, and you need to bring in a project from concept to completion, and that is project management. So you want to highlight that for sure. Then I would say finally maybe just problem solving beyond the norm, beyond just following an SOP. Any problem solving, skill or mindset that you may have, not just following an established SOP, but going that extra mile and just showing that you are comfortable with being uncomfortable and comfortable with facing challenges and being in a more unstructured setting.
Yes.
would definitely I think go a long mile.
I think the key word there is to show them how you can troubleshoot. And of course, it could be technical troubleshooting, your experiments, your assays and everything. But also, as you said, like it would be a situation, like you are in certain circumstances, like how can you basically solve the problem?
Yeah,
like,
be resourceful. Show that you were resourceful.
Absolutely. Talking about tools that you use, for example, as a recruiter and looking for candidates, like, of course, most of the time you are headhunting for the right profile, for the right phenotype, as we usually say. How important is personal branding for a candidate looking for a new role, like a LinkedIn presence, of course, a clear and nice CV, etc.
It's probably the most important thing, probably, because you could be an amazing scientist, and if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, or if you have a LinkedIn profile with no title or no skills or just nothing there, a recruiter maybe will never find you, and you might miss out on amazing opportunities out there. So unfortunately or unfortunately, maybe it's not what people want to do, putting out a lot of details out there and just having an extra platform. Maybe that's not what people want to do, but fortunately or unfortunately, it is a very strong tool that hiring managers and recruiters use to find you. So yes, it's the most important thing. Definitely make sure that you curate your profile, you highlight all your skills, put on all your key responsibilities there. I would say if you want to take it a step extra, if you have time to do some posts from time to time, engage with companies, engage with other hiring managers, comment on their posts. If you can do that, even better, because then you appear even more in the algorithm. But it's the most important thing.
And recruiters as well, like connecting with recruiters, because again, they will probably sometimes they post opportunities on their page rather than on a company page, or you can learn a lot about the sector that they are covering, and about the company that they have as clients.
That's true. You can connect to so many interesting people as well, except for recruiters. I mean, from your own space, you can just go find a hashtag with a very niche skill or something that you do and find people that do the same and just interact with them and read so many interesting articles that people post. So 100%, it's an amazing tool.
Absolutely. Okay, so talking about different markets, so you had the pleasure of working very closely with innovative companies across the UK, but also Europe, different countries there. Have you noticed any major difference in their hiring approach?
Good question. Between major difference, I wouldn't say so necessarily. Usually, maybe it's because we also guide them a lot. If they don't have already a structure, we guide them on how they should structure the interview process many times. With other companies, other clients of ours also have an HR team and they have more clear processes in place. But usually it's the same structure. We will have the first screening, as I said, then they will pass on to the client. They will have their 2-3 interview rounds there. I wouldn't say I've seen major differences. Of course, every company does things differently. Other companies maybe will ask you to present something on the face-to-face interview. Maybe they will ask you, to prepare. Some others will not. I wouldn't say, though, no, I've seen any major differences.
Excellent. Yeah, I think those differences are probably more related to each company's preferences, as you were saying, rather than being something specific to that country. I'm talking about market trends. Like, have you seen any change or any specific trends in the biotech hiring landscape?
Over the last few years, there's been a big focus on platform and technology versus drug discovery necessarily. I'm not sure if that's fair to say. But there's a huge focus on that, using AI tools, machine learning, how we can best improve our platform and how we can use our platform either for our own drug discovery or to outsource it, of course, out-license it to other clients. That's definitely huge trend. We're definitely seeing a huge rise when it comes to any tech, AI role out there, of course, using AI. Probably 9 out of 10 companies out there are now using AI. So there's a lot of position when it comes to AI engineers and cloud engineers and machine learning and also, of course, computational biologists and computational chemists and bioinformaticians and data engineers. All of this is now maybe, we are seeing new functions, new departments being created that maybe in the past you wouldn't.
And I think that, AI work, like being so present in drug discovery or also medtech, etc., it's very relevant, because one skill that researchers need to have in startup space is the ability to really collaborate cross-functionally. So being able to work with engineers, for example, or computational chemists, for example. So even if they are bench-based, they need the ability to really move a project forward, collaborating with all these different backgrounds. Let's say.
Definitely, and especially in startups, in such small companies, even though you're in different departments, you're probably sitting right next to the other person, and you're always collaborating with so many different people at the same time. It's not like in a huge pharma where maybe because there's hundreds of people, maybe it's just the manager or the project leader collaborating with the other project leaders, right? And doing that cross collaboration and that communication. But in a startup, you're always collaborating with hardware engineers, software engineers, bioinformaticians. Then you have the biologists, the chemists. So it's a big team to make this successful and to make this work. So communication is definitely needed.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Ada. It was a pleasure to have you here and have a chat about all things.
Thank you.
Recruitment and biotech. Well, thank you for your contribution.
Thank you so much, Cecilia, for having me.